Okay, 11.3 box and whisker plots. But before I want to start, I want to remind everybody how to do these three things: mean, median, and mode. Okay, so what is the mean? First of all, what is the mean? Yeah, the average. What is the median? Yeah, the middle number. What's the mode? Yes? Most often. Very good. So let's find the mean, median, and the mode for this set of data. So first thing I probably need to put them in order. So let's put them in order. So I have 60, and then what else? Oh, 58 would have been before that. And then what? 75. I have two 75s, it looks like. And then 84, 86, 92. That should be all of them. All right, so first let's get out your calculator. I want you to find me the mean. Remember, the mean is you add them all together and you divide by how many pieces of data there are. And I'm going to rely on you guys to tell me the correct answer because I'm not going to do it. Yep, 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did anybody have it? Anybody want to share? What do you got, Mason? You guys agree with him? Yes and no? Okay, so we'll go with that, 75.7. Let's talk about the median. Median, middle number. Odd set of data, you have an odd amount of pieces, so you know you're going to have something in the middle. So I think it's going to be 75. Okay. And the mode? Yeah, 75. Look at it, just kind of stays consistent with 75, 75, 75. If I needed to tell my principal what my best scores were, what would I tell him? Yeah, I would tell him the best one, 75.7. Good. Okay, so I have a lot of vocabulary for box and whisker plot today. Now I have a few things on here you don't need to know, and I'll point that out when I get there. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what a box and whisker plot actually is. And then we're going to talk about these. Do you guys want to write, and then do you want me to talk? Let's do that. You guys go ahead and write, and then I'll talk. Okay, so a box and whisker, it's a visual way of showing median values for a set of data. So the other day we did a line plot, and a line plot and a box and whisker plot are going to both be done on number lines. So this is also done on a number line. The difference is when we had a line plot, we showed exactly where every single piece of data fell. Remember we made our X's? Well, this one only shows like where the median is, your highest number, your lowest number, and so it's not going to show every single piece of data, okay? The lower quartile, it's the median of the lower half of the set of data. Sometimes we call it quartile 1. So know the quartile 1 and the lower quartile are the same thing. Upper quartile, this is the median of the upper half of the data. Sometimes we call this quartile 3. Notice there's no 2, and I'll tell you why in a second. So lower quartile is known as Q1. Sometimes upper quartile is known as Q3. And I'll show you how to find both of these things when we start making them. Correct. Quartile 2 is the median. Yep. So quartile 1 is the median of the lower half. Quartile 2 is the median of the actual set of data. Quartile 3 is the upper half. Okay, so good, and we'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. So the only things you need to know here today are upper and lower. We aren't going to focus on these two things later. We're going to focus on those two things in 8th grade. So the only thing you need to write down is the upper extreme and the lower extreme for today. We're going to focus on the interquartile range and the outliers next year. So upper extreme is the highest number in the data, and the lower extreme is the lowest number in the data. So don't worry about the other two on the bottom. We're only going to worry about the top two. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. And the next slide is going to show you an example of what a box and whisker plot looks like. So this is what a box and whisker plot looks like. Okay, so if you have a set of data, the first thing you do is you find your median. Okay, and then you have to take your lower half and you're going to find the median of the lower half. That's known as the lower quartile. And then you're going to look at this half and you're going to find the median of the upper half, and that's your upper quartile. And notice how every single thing that I talk about on here, the lowest number, the lower quartile, the median, the upper, the greatest, is going to be graphed on this a number line. So there's only going to be 5 dots you're going to have to graph. Okay, so I made a list of how you need to do this. So if you need a step-by-step checklist, this is how you do it. So the first thing you're going to do, it's very simple. You're going to find the medians and the upper and lower quartiles and the extremes. Simple. We'll do a few together. Next, you're going to create a number line, and you're going to graph each dot on that number line. So like each extreme, each quartile, each median, you're going to graph it right on that number line. And then 3 and 4 is you actually drawing the box. And then 5 is drawing the whiskers. Box and whisker, yep. Okay, so let's practice. And here's a set of data. I already put it in order for you guys. Okay, but that's the first thing that has to be done. It has to be in order. If it's not in order, you will not find the correct upper quartile and lower quartiles and things like that. So it has to be in order. So if you want to do this in your notebook with me, you can. So here's my first set of data. It's already in order. 68, 71, 75, 81, 90, 98, and 100. Let's pretend these are test scores again, okay? Not bad. Not bad. Okay, so I'm going to start making a list. First thing we're going to do is we're going to find the median of the set of data. So what's the median? Anybody know? 81. Okay, so 81's the median. Now we're going to do the lower quartile, or Q1. So to do this, now listen closely. Do you need a second yet? I'll wait till everybody's done writing because I want you to watch how this works. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my lower quartile. I'm not going to include my median. I'm only going to look at this section right here. So what's my median of those 3 numbers? No, my median, my middle number of those 3 numbers, 71. That's my quartile, my lower quartile. Okay, let's do my upper quartile. Okay, so I'm going to look at this. What's my median of that set of numbers? 98. Good. Now this is the easy part. Your lower extreme, basically your lowest number, 68, and your upper extreme is 100. Does that make sense? So your lower and upper extremes are just your highest and lowest numbers in the set of data. So I know my box and whisker plot. Remember we talked the other day about our scale and what it needs to go through? So my box and whisker plot, or my box and whisker line plot, has to be between 68 and 100. So what do you guys want to start at? We could, but what are we going to go up by? Remember, it has to be a consistent interval then. By 2s? It's going to be a long, big number line. I think we should go by 5s. I think we should go by 5s. And to start at 5s, I'm going to start at 65 then. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so here's my number line. Okay, so we're going to start at 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. Perfect. So again, you have to have an interval. You have to know what you need to go through, just kind of what we did the other day with the line plot. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go plot all these numbers on this number line. So I'm going to plot 81. It's about right here. And I'm going to leave a little space because I have to make a box around this thing. Okay, so I have to leave a little space. Lower quartile was 71, about right there. My upper quartile is 98. It's about right there. Okay. And then I'm going to stop right there. And I'm going to make my box. So your box just looks like this because you make a box around these then. There's your box. Well, that's not great for me, but box around those. So I'm going to write that here. Made box. And this line represents your median. This line represents your lower quartile. This line represents your upper quartile. And then we're going to do the extreme. So the lower would be 68, so about right here. And then I make my whisker. And then my upper is going to be over here. And I'm going to make my little whisker. That's how you make a box and whisker plot. Now the point of this is to show and to create and look at your data and split it into sections of 4. Here's a fourth of my data. 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 That's the point, is to split it up so you can see the different sections of your data. That's it. Kind of cool, right? Something different. Something different. Okay, let's try. Can we try another one? Let's do another one. What's that? You guys want to try them by yourself? You can do it. All right. Here we go. I put it in order for you already. I put it in order for you already. So go ahead, and I want you to just make your list first. You need to find the median. You need to find lower quartile. You need to find upper quartile. You need to find the upper or the lower extreme. And you got to find the upper extreme. Maybe before we make your box and whisker, let's do these things first, and then I'll let you make your box and whisker by yourself. Does that sound good? So we can do step by step, because if you get something wrong here, your box and whisker is going to be wrong. So let's just talk, like when you get done with all these 5 things, let's stop and then regroup, and then I'll let you do the box and whisker by yourself. So everybody got your 5 things? Got your 5 things? What's the median of this set of data? 36. What's the lower quartile? Good. What's the upper quartile? 44. Your lower extreme? 23. And your upper extreme? 48. Okay, so these numbers are correct. Now go make your box and whisker. So you have to have the numbers between 23 and 48. Think about what interval you're going to use and what you're going to start at, because you have to include 23 through 48 somehow on your number line. So everybody went by 5s, is that correct? Okay, so you probably started at 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. What did this go to? 45, 50. Oh, look how that worked out so good. Shoot. Okay, so I'm going to do the median. Should be about 36. And the lower quartile is 25. And the upper quartile is 44. That's a way better way of making a box than what I did before. Okay, so that's how it looks so far. Is that how yours looks? And then you got to do the upper and lower extreme. So 23, your whiskers aren't very big here. And 48, well, I guess that's more so. Just like that. Just like that. That's fine. You can do the different dots in different color. Sometimes, did anybody have any of this on their STAR test? Like show us something like this? Sometimes they're going to say, sometimes they'll just give you the Box and Whisker plot and they'll say, okay, what's the median? What's the lower quartile? Now you at least know what's what, right? So this is the lowest number, lower quartile, median, upper quartile, highest number. Okay? Any questions so far for me? Okay, I want to show you one more thing and then I'm done. We're not going to make a box and whisker, but I want to show you what happens when you have a set of data that has an even number. And remember when you don't have a true median, like what you have to do. So if I look at this, I think there's probably 10 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I'm going to find my median, I know that these two are going to be in the middle. Remember when we did that the other day? How do you find the median then? Yep, so to find the median, I'm going to add them together and divide by 2. That's going to be my median. Now, it changes then when you have to do your upper and lower quartiles. Now listen, this is what happens. Since this is not the true median, because I had to use it for it, but I didn't have to, it's not the true thing, I need to include that in my lower quartile then. Does that make sense? And I have to include this number in my upper quartile. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? So if you have two numbers that are in the middle that you have to use for the median, you have to include that number also in the lower quartile. And you have to include this number also in the upper quartile. Just so you know. Because that might happen sometime. And I don't want you to miss out because you didn't listen to this. Or get something wrong. So if you have two medians that are in the middle, you have to add them together and divide by 2. Yep. And then you have to use that number in that median. Sometimes it also might happen where you have two numbers in the median here, and you have to add them together, divide by 2. So you have to do whatever you need to do to find that median, whether it's right in the middle, or if you have two numbers and divide them by 2, you have to find the median for everything. Okay. Any questions for me? But if you have a median, like I did back here, we said it was this, and that's the true one, then we don't include it in our lower quartile, okay? Or upper quartile. Correct, correct. Even, let's say even, Olivia, if this was 36 and I had to add these together and divide by 2 to find what it was, I still have to include it. Even though it's going to be 36 anyway, I still have to include it. Yep. Do you guys have any questions for me? Nope, they want you to leave it as a decimal. Leave it as a decimal. Questions? Clear as mud? It's kind of fun. If you can find the 5 things, you can make the line plot, right? All right. Let's call it good. Have a good day!